Hello, my name is Sharon Robson. I'm a consultant at SoftEd, and today I'm going to talk to you about value delivery. There's such a focus on value delivery because the rate of change is increasing and our customers are getting more and more discerning. What we need to do in any organisation is make sure that everything we do is bang on point and it is going to return the value that we need. Businesses are value delivery systems based on how they work. And what we're looking for by honing the system is increasing the value that we get out of anything that goes through the processes that we have in place. We want, in today's modern world, to look for more effective and efficient ways of working. It doesn't mean that we have to cut everything to the bone. We want to make sure that if we're doing a thing, it is exactly on target. It delivers us a known outcome. We want to focus on the things that are going to make such a change to our organisation. Increase revenue, grow market share, employee engagement, more effective working practices. Unless we can target what value actually means to our organisation and to our teams, we will not be able to deliver it. So value-driven delivery focuses on having very clear outcomes, knowing the targets we're aiming for. But even more importantly, it focuses on building in feedback loops so that we can assess, are we delivering what we need to deliver? The reality of any change that we look at in our organisations, any product that we want to improve, any market that we want to grow, until we do something, it's theory. Value delivery means that we turn that theory into reality as soon as we possibly can to see if it's as valuable as we thought it would be. We spend most of our organisational time making assumptions. Value delivery is about validating those assumptions and focusing on the changes that we can make to increase the amount of value we get out of the effort and energy we have expended. Value. It's a hard concept. It's a bit like talking about quality. Value is in the eye of the beholder. And this is why value-focused organisations, they're just nailing it at the moment. A value-focused organisation has spent the time and energy to sit down and figure out what matters to their customers, what matters to the organisation. Value, because it is very much in the eye of the beholder, has to be considered from multiple perspectives. And this is why an organisation focused on value delivery analyses their targets, customers, shareholders, internal stakeholders, employees, vendors, partners. They all have a stake in the value pie. So as an organisation, we need to have a very clear understanding of what is valuable to each of those elements of our engagement. Once we understand what is valuable to each of those elements, we can then focus the way that we work to deliver that value and deliver it frequently. Value can be revenue. It can be dollars, but it can also be trust. It can be confidence. It is not what your brand says. It's about what your company represents. It's a very different thing. It can be about economies of scale, efficiencies in the way we work. Value can also be in the growth that we're making, the changes that we're making either in a particular market segment or in the technology that we're using. Value can be strategic and tactical. We can have compounding value paradigms where we make small changes frequently that add up to big changes over time. Bottom line, value means that we are delivering something to someone that they want, they will use, and they enjoy. Most organisations will focus on customer value. And customer value means that we need to give customers value for money. And it may be matching the customers at a particular price point, or it may be giving them extensible products or platforms that they can use in multiple dimensions. understanding the customer's pain points, understanding what a customer is trying to do with our products, and understanding what brings them joy allows us to figure out what's the perfect fit for a product that we're going to deliver to them. We can't focus entirely on customer value without thinking about the cost of production. So in any organization, it's a very fine balancing line. If you talk to a customer and you ask them what do they want, they're always going to say, I want the most that I possibly can for the least I can possibly pay. We need to figure out what is the right balance there. So the customer gets value, things that bring them joy and helps relieve any of the pain, get any jobs done that they need to get done, but also that allows us to consistently and continually cater to those customers' needs. Moving to a more strategic approach to funding in organisations doesn't have to be too complicated. We've already got that in the way we do most of our funding. But what we need to look at is how do we check that what we spend equals value and what we spend equals strategy? And that just basically means alignment. We need to very clearly and frequently interpret our strategies and translate them into reality, which means we take our strategies, we break them down into their component parts, we look at the market segments that we're trying to mobilize around with this strategy. We come up with small chunks of work that allow us to deliver and assess, deliver and assess, deliver and assess. Any strategic target is made up of lots of tactical steps. To make sure that each tactical step is adding to the step beforehand, but also heading us on the path of our strategic objective, we've just got to keep tracking. We've got to keep checking. We've got to keep paying attention to what is happening in our outcomes. What we're looking for is a focus on the outcomes, not the outputs. We are looking for the amount of change that we have induced in any particular market segment or in our customers' behaviours or in our employee engagement. It's the change that we're looking for. That's where the value is. It's not about the number of units of things that we've produced. It's about that change. Building a value model is an excellent tool to help guide those budget decisions. Where are we going to invest our money? A value model needs to have an alignment to the organization's strategy. So the first thing that you're looking for out of any value model is how do we relate strategy to delivery? What are the elements of our strategy that we need to translate into action? The second thing that we need to do is consider who is going to be the owner of value in the organisation. Are we customer focused, shareholder focused, stakeholder focused, partner focused, employee focused? Now, any organisation is going to say yes, all of them, but we really need to be very clear on where our focus is. It's not saying that we're not going to cater for those other stakeholders, but we need to make sure that everything is focused on that value proposition. Once we figure out who the segment that we're catering for is, we can then start to think about what are their joys, what are their pain points, what are they trying to achieve. And we can align the work that we deliver to meet their needs. Creating a value model means that you're going to define value criteria and you're going to codify this is how we assess value. And it can be dollars, it can be feedback from customers, it can be market share, it can be revenue rates. There's all sorts of models that we can use to assess that criteria. Once we've defined the criteria, we then define the tools that we're going to use to assess all of our work within that criteria. So we build a model or a framework that we push all of our work through so that we can objectively analyze each piece of work against a certain criteria. What that does is means we're comparing apples and apples. We don't have any special projects or special pieces of work that happen if they're not aligned to our strategy and if they don't work through the value model. The third part of this value model, though, is to build that feedback loop in that allows us to assess whether or not our value criteria was correct. because as the work goes through this model, it's still all assumptions. We need to validate those assumptions. If we find that we're pushing work through the model and delivering it, but we're not getting the value we thought we were going to get out of the work, we need to redefine our value model. And that becomes an iterative process. We make sure that we're always focusing on the outcome we're trying to achieve and check that we actually achieved it. When setting up a value delivery office, first of all, be very clear in what the purpose of the value delivery office is. Oftentimes, these offices get mutated to become program police or governance bodies. We actually recognize governance is another way of getting information and feedback about how the organization is delivering value. So a value delivery office doesn't become a bottleneck or a central point or a police point. What it needs to be is an information disseminator. The value delivery office needs to create their value model. They need to build a way that they can communicate throughout the entire organisation about value. They also need to build feedback loops into every way the organisation delivers so that they can check and assess whether or not we're on target with our value. The value delivery office also can supply guidelines, hints and tips, coaching to delivery teams about how they can look for and manage things like lean wastes. The Value Delivery Office also helps organisations focus on articulating their value propositions. Because they're dialed into value, because they talk about value, they usually have a language or model set that will allow anyone in the organisation to really understand value.